In this lesson, we look at another special right triangle with some shortcuts to find sides, the 30, 60, 90 triangles. I will be able to apply the special right triangle rules to 30, 60, 90 triangles that determine unknown lengths of sides or hypotenuse. So in this one, we've got a 30 degree, a 60 degree, and 90 degree in the triangle to make up the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Here's something we'll use in a later lesson, so I'll discuss it later. Okay, you're not going to use it in this one. So we get to the part how to label a 30, 60, 90. Here's what the formula chart looks like, and here's how you use it. All right. Last time we labeled two sides x and one x times the square root of 2. This is what it'll look like this time. So I start with this 30 degree angle right here. I find it. If I know this one's 60 and this one's 90, the other one's 30, or vice versa, if they only show one of them. So if the 30 is missing, I'll put it in, or if the 60 is missing, I'll put it in. But across, opposite the 30 degree angle, you can even draw your little arrow like this, is the x side. And then opposite the 60 degree angle, we label it x times the square root of 3, not the square root of 2 like last time. And then the hypotenuse is 2 times x. Alright, so that's how you label it. You got to start with that. So if you looked at these problems and tried labeling those, pause the video for a second, label them, and see if you've got them right. Okay, again, opposite the 30 degree angle, that side is called x. Opposite the 60 degree angle, that side is called x times the square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse, opposite the right angle, is 2x. So pause it and then check it in a second. Well, let's see what you got right. So if I do this opposite thing again, this one, okay, opposite the 30 is my x. Opposite the 60 over here, x times the square root of 3. And then the last one, the hypotenuse, is 2x. Here we go again. I start at the 30, go opposite it. There's my x side. There's the 60 degree angle. Which side is opposite it? This one right here, and that is x times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse is 2x. So once you got that done, it's as easy as the last lesson. Let's look at a few examples. Here's this first example. We're going to find these two missing sides. We know this hypotenuse is 14. So our first step is to label. Here's that part. I told you that we got the 90, we got the 60, so this must be the 30 right here. You can put that in. So then opposite the 30 is x. We don't know what it is yet. There's no number here. Opposite the 60 over here is x times the square root of 3. And over here, this side is the hypotenuse is 2x. So we know to find these sides, we need to know what x is. And here's our equation to solve for x. Once we know x, this side is x, so it'll equal whatever x is. This side, we'll take that x times the square root of 3 and round it to the nearest tenth, like we've always been doing, and get that. So let's take this equation here. 2x equals this side, which is 14. So all we do is divide by 2, and we get x equals 7. Now we're ready to solve for these two sides. Let's see, LM. LM is this side, and it says that's this x times the square root of 3. So all we do is substitute this 7 in here for x, and it'll look like this. 7 times the square root of 3. You put that in your calculator. Try it and make sure you know how to round today. I'll be checking that. And you get about 12.1. Then the MN side, I look at it. That one's labeled just x. And what does x equal? We just found it right here. For this problem, it is 7. We're done. We found those two sides. It's that simple. A few more examples we'll run through. If I go too fast, just pause it. Okay? But listen to the reasoning, what we're doing. So first step, I can see this one's 60, 90, so this must be the 30. So across from the 30, opposite of it is over here on this side. This is the x side. X equals 2 times the square root of 5, which is a little number. You can plug it in your calculator and see. Opposite the 60 is x times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse side is the 2x side. So it's already solved for x. There is no equation to write. We just got to plug this strange looking number in for x here and in for x here to solve for these sides. So let's see, we got LM first, that's this one. That one, so this side equals whatever x is, which is this number right here, times the square root of 3. So it looks something like this in your calculator. I'm using this star for the time sign here. So I got the x number, 2 times the square root of 5 times the square root of 3, which is approximately 7.7. Again, try that with your calculator. Then I take, for ln, which is the hypotenuse, is 2 times whatever x is, and x is this strange little square root number here, 2 times the square root of 5. So I take 2 times 2 square roots of 5 and get 8.9 approximately. Piece of cake, easy stuff. Once you find x, you plug it into these formulas here. Here it was given to us. The key part is labeling these triangles correctly. Example 2, again, there's our 30-degree angle. So opposite the 30 is the x side. Opposite the 60 is the x times the square root of 3, and it's the side we know, so we know that x times the square root of 3 is 8. There's our equation we're going to solve in a minute. And here's the hypotenuse is the 2x side. So we don't know what x is yet. We know that x times the square root of 3 equals 8, so we're going to solve that. Since this is multiplication, we're going to divide by the square root of 3 to get x by itself. When you divide by that square root of 3, on this side, this just cancels out, and we get what we want. X equals, what does it equal? It equals 8 divided by the square root of 3, which is approximately 4.6. Now that we know what x is, we're going to plug it in. First to this ln side, the hypotenuse, which is 2 times whatever x is, so we take 2 times 4.6, which is approximately 9.2. And then the mn side is just x, so it's just this number. X equals 4.6, so does mn, because it equals x. Piece of cake. Alrighty, here we go again. So let's see, there's our 30. Across, opposite the 30 over here is our x. And just look at your notes. Keep your note handy there with that one example of the picture, in case you forget which one's across from which. Across from the 60 is x times the square root of 3. And then the hypotenuse over here is 2x. So you can see here's our equation. We're going to solve for x. We don't know what x equals yet, so we're going to take this equation right here. 2x, 2 times x equals 4 times the square root of 3. So to get x by itself here, this is multiplication, so we'll divide by 2. And so we got to put this into the calculator like it is. 4 square roots of 3 divided by 2, and that is approximately 3.5. Try it with your calculator. Make sure you're getting it. So now that we know what x is, we'll plug it into these other two sides. The LM side right here, we're supposed to take x times the square root of 3. X is 3.5. So 3.5 times the square root of 3, which is approximately 6.1. Then our mn side is the easy one. It is just whatever x equals, and x equals 3.5 over here. We're done. We found those two sides. A few more examples, and then you'll be ready to do your practice. You can pause this and see if you can do this one all by yourself, and then check the answer. That would be a good idea for any of these problems when you're doing them, once you've gotten the hang of it. So across from the 30 over here, opposite the 30 is this side, that's 4, and that is the x side. So we've already got our x equals 4. We know that across opposite the 60 is x times, whoops, I messed this up. So I'm going to have to fix this. This goes over here. And this one goes over here. I messed up. So across from the 60 is our x times the square root of 3, and our hypotenuse is the 2x. All right. So since we know what x is, we can just start plugging them into these two and figure out what these other two sides are. So side VT, this one right here, is x times the square root of 3. And the x is 4, so we got 4 times the square root of 3, which is approximately 6.9. Our hypotenuse side is 2 times x. So we're going to take 2 times the x is 4, so 2 times 4 is 8. It's twice as big as that little side. Alrighty. Again, you can pause it and see if you can do it right. Let's see if I messed up again. Alright, across from the 30, opposite the 30 is our x side. Opposite the 60, which is already 2 here, it equals x times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse is 2x. I did it right that time. So here's our equation. We don't know what x is yet, but we'll solve this one. Pretty easy. All these equations when we come up are pretty easy, one-steppers. We'll undo this multiplication with division. We'll divide by that square root of 3. So it cancels out with that 1 on top, and we get what x equals 2 divided by the square root of 3, which is approximately 1.2. So now that we know x is 1.2, this PT side here first is just equals x, so that is 1.2. Then the PV side is 2 times x, so we'll substitute that 1.2 in for x, and we get 2 times 1.2, which is approximately 2.4. Let me see if there's any other ones I forget. Yep, we've got an example 4. Alright, same old stuff. Try it without me and then pause it and check your answer. Okay, across from the 30 is our x side. Opposite the 60 is our x times the square root of 3 side. And then the hypotenuse is our 2x, and it equals the little tiny 3 there. So there's our equation we're going to solve. 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, and we get x equals 1.5. So now we'll substitute that into these other 2 missing sides here. The PT side just equals x, so then we substitute that number in there. It's just 1.5. The VT side is x times the square root of 3. X is 1.5, so we'll have 1.5 times the square root of 3, which is approximately 2.6. Easy stuff. So that's the end of these examples. You got plenty of practice problems to do, but as you can see, they're not that tough. Go back to your original little chart here. Keep that handy. Keep this picture handy to remind you, opposite the 30 is the x side. Opposite the 60-degree angle is the x times the square root of 3 side. Remember, don't put the square root of 2 like yesterday's 45, 45, 90 triangles. There will be one where they mix the 2 triangles, so you might have to remember that. Then the hypotenuse, 2x side. Have a great day. We'll see you later.